Welcome to the ONS podcast with your host, Linnea Jacobson.
Welcome back, you guys, to our ONS podcast brought to you by our partners here at Face to Face Academy. ONS stands for Office of Neighborhood Safety. I'm your host, Linnea Jacobson, and I'm a member of the ONS team. This podcast was created for departments like us and community organizations to come on and talk about our services. All of the episodes are about connecting you to alternative public safety measures, programs, and your local growth and healing opportunities. Today, audience, please welcome Marcus Sullivan from St. Paul Public Schools Security and Emergency Management. He is the assistant director over there, and in his role, he oversees security operations for 67 St. Paul Public Schools, risk and threat assessments and critical incidents, public safety communication with police and fire, and alternative preventative public safety efforts. Marcus comes to us with a military background as a combat veteran of the United States Army, where he served in Afghanistan and received a Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. Yay to you, Marcus.
Thank you.
This young man has a bachelor's degree in law enforcement and criminal justice. The final cherry on top, he is professionally trained in crisis prevention, intervention, and emergency response. Welcome, Marcus.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, give me 30 seconds about yourself.
Yeah, like you stated, I oversee the security operations for the district. I have been in Minnesota for about 7 years. I'm from a small town, Bedford, Indiana. Actually, It's below, so Bloomington's about 20 minutes away up north. That's Indiana University, so from a small town below that. I moved to Minnesota after the military. Came up here, started working contract security, and I was like, what do I want to do with my life? So I decided to go to school. I was like, I want to join law enforcement. That was my first passion. And then Lori Olson, who's our director of security and emergency management, was like, I have a position open for you. I think this is bigger than law enforcement, is what she pitched it to me and said, hey, you can make a bigger difference and be a role model for our students. Come and work for security and emergency management and be that role model. And that's where I'm at today.
That's awesome. Do you have any family that followed you up here?
No, I am by myself. Well, I'll take that back. I don't want to say I'm by myself. When I first moved up here, I was by myself. But now I'm with Aaliyah Rivera, who's my wife, and we have 2 kids together.
Aww.
So Minnesota is home now.
That's good. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So I always do these icebreaker questions to humanize us, right? So you have to choose one or the other, and you have to give an answer. You can't just say, okay?
Too easy.
Okay.
Got it.
Nikes or Adidas?
Nikes.
Nikes?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, Marcus. You may be too young for this one. Cross colors or Jabos?
Okay, first of all, let's go back to the Nikes. The reason I chose Nikes, did you ever see that movie, the football movie about Friday Night Lights? Okay. Did you ever watch that movie, Friday Night Lights?
I've never seen it.
Boobie Miles, right? Boobie Miles said, hey, I'll run you over in some Nikes. So after watching that as a kid, Nikes, pick Nikes every time. Okay. Just because he was a star running back. I'll knock you out in some Nikes, I'll run you over in some Nikes.
It was the slogan. Yeah. I am an Adidas girl, and I feel like every time I tell people that I love Adidas, I feel like I'm dating myself. You know what I mean? Because I am just Adidas everything. I love the colors. I love the shoes. I got my Sambas on right now. Everything is Adidas for me. And everybody in my office is always rocking Nikes with our swag. And I'm like the only one who will rock the Adidas. Yeah. But I laugh when I said cross color or Jabos because you guys are engineers.
I have no clue. What is that? You have to explain.
Oh my gosh. You guys don't know, but the engineer is in the room as well. And I think we're around the same age, and he won't talk, but he totally gets me when I say cross colors or Jabos because he knows. Okay, we'll skip that question. I have a scenario for you, though.
Okay.
You're at your senior prom. You and your friends are getting ready to leave out and head to White Castle. That's a Minnesota thing.
Okay. That reminds me of that movie, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castles. Sorry.
It's similar like
I'm
that.
going back to movies. And
It's like White Castles is like the after party because it's the only thing open late. Okay. So.
Or Waffle House. Or you guys don't have
we don't have a Waffle House. Yeah, this is Minnesota.
I moved from Texas, too. I forgot to mention that.
Okay.
I was stationed down there in the military. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you leave out, you're getting ready to head to White Castle. But the DJ plays that one last song, and it's your jam. What is that song? It's your senior year, so take yourself back.
So I have to go back.
Yeah, you have to pick a song. What was your senior year jam?
What was hot my senior year of high school? Lil Wayne was big.
So
it's probably going to be something Lil Wayne, which he should be in the Super Bowl, but that's another topic.
Go DJ.
Or just something Drake.
Okay.
Look, I'm a Drake fan.
Okay.
Yes. Go DJ.
Yeah.
I actually 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
All
did a lot of stuff to Go DJ.
Yeah. All right.
That out there.
All right. Let's jump into these questions.
All right.
So, Marcus, what are SSLs and why SSLs?
So our SSLs, those are our school support liaisons. So that's what SSL, the acronym is, School Support Liaison. And our SSLs are the security personnel in every high school and every middle school. We also have 5 mobile SSLs that respond to our elementaries and support our elementaries. So, for example, say a school has a disorderly parent, a disorderly student that they need support for, and all other avenues have been exhausted, then they're going to call our ECC, which is our Emergency Communication Center, and send our mobile SSLs out there. But anyway, let me just go back and take a pause for a minute. So the reason that we started this SSL program, we wanted to phase out contract security. That back in 2020, we still had contract security. We also had school resource officers, our police officers. At that time, the school board voted that we were no longer going to have our SROs in our school, our police officers anymore, so we relied on contract security. We decided let's have a more comprehensive security model.
Okay.
And what that means is not just contract security who's working down at the light rail or working at a building guarding something. Like this person has to be able to relate to our students, has to be able to build relationships, has to be something more than a security guard. So what we decided to do is hire these personnel that look like our students, that reflect our students, and that can build those relationships. So every SSL will go through a 2-week academy.
Okay.
And in that academy, they are trained in nonviolent crisis intervention. They're trained in racial equity and diversity, trauma-informed care, decision-making, your restorative practice, CPR, first aid, Narcan training as well. And then lastly, they're trained in defensive tactics.
Okay.
And I say lastly because that's the last resort we want to go to.
Right.
We want to build that rapport with our students. We want to get to know, and usually we resolve all issues by having those conversations, using those de-escalation techniques. And that's the reason we wanted to hire our own people, the school support liaisons, because we can do the training. We can hold them accountable. They're our folks. We're doing the hiring. We're doing the training. We're doing all of that. And every SSL is also equipped with a duty belt. So on that duty belt, they have handcuffs, chemical spray. They also wear an armored vest in the school as well, equipped with the Narcan. Again, that's worst case scenario. They would have to use those tools. That's more for the outside. So if some unknown person is coming in the building, then our SSLs can respond to the best of their abilities to keep our students safe. And all of our students and staff know that. Very few incidents do SSLs have to put handcuffs on anyone. I think that happened maybe 4 or 5 times last school year. Again, the biggest tool on their duty belt, relationship building. That's what I always tell my SSLs, building that rapport, building those relationships. That's your biggest tool. Use that first.
That is key. Yep. I like the way you guys have a model where all of them get trained by one facility, which is your place of business, and everybody is on the same wavelength, because I know St. Paul Public School is an independent school district, right? So each school kind of gets to not make up their own rules, but kind of create their own policies around things, as long as they're teaching the curriculum, right? And I always thought, everything is so different. You go one school, it's modeled this way, and you go to one school that's modeled that way, and that's not always a bad thing. But when things are uniformed, you know what the outcome should be and is going to be. And I think that it's really important that your SSLs, everyone knows that your SSLs have a uniformed way of approaching every
standards
single
and expectations.
incident. Yeah, I love it. What did your department do to gear up for the 2024-25 school year?
Well, we're here now. But what did we do to gear up? Ensure our SSLs were trained to the best of their ability and ensure our SSLs were ready for the challenges. I would say that. And then consistent communication between our partners, not just within the schools, but externally. So when I say externally, I mean like our partners with Office of Neighborhood Safety, our partners over at St. Paul Police Department, our community partners, Healing Streets. All of those are important to have that constant communication because we know that there's issues out in the community, right? And we know those issues sometimes come into our school. So how do we work with our partners outside and inside school to coordinate to better support and provide a safe and positive learning environment for our students? So I think that was the goal, ensure that those relationships stay, ensure that our SSLs are ready for the task. Sometimes it's challenging. Like I stated before, you have disorderly parents that may come in, a disorderly student, but making sure they're able and trained, and not just the SSLs, but the safety team at that school, your social workers, your counselors, to de-escalate whatever situation that is. And then everyone's trained to be able to assess that situation and come up with a solution to it.
You're speaking my language. Tell us what's new or what has changed that both parents, students, community can expect for the rest of the year, if there is anything new.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that there's a lot of changes, but I will say that parents can expect the district to provide a safe environment to the best of our abilities, that the district's going to provide that, hey, your kid is going into a building that is safe to the best of our abilities. Like I stated previously, with those partnerships, with making sure staff are trained to handle crisis situations, to handle trauma-informed decisions, or maybe that student needs to go to a social worker. And also, parents, I believe that parents were a little frustrated sometimes with the communication, the delay of communication being sent out to parents. And that's something we really worked on, because sometimes the information isn't always accurate right away. We still need to dissect that information, and then once we know what's happening, then we can send that communication out to families and parents.
That too is important, because I think as the public, as a community, people always want information right away. And I think that what needs to be put out there so that they can have a better understanding is that you have to get the facts first, because if we as public safety personnel put out information that is not factual or that is not, completely accurate, we could be sending the wrong message. We could be provoking something. It causes more damage, right?
Of course.
Making sure that we have the facts and all the prominent information that we need before releasing things is important, because we want the community to get their accurate response and the accurate information.
And Linnea, we also see that on social media.
Yeah.
If a school, and we can get into that a little bit later, but if a school goes into a lockdown, just that information that's being out there that's not accurate, and then speculation happens.
Yeah.
So we always take a pause, like, let's resolve what's going on. Okay, this is the facts. Okay, now we can send it out to families.
What is your take on the public safety issues that we've seen amongst our youth over the past year?
Youth violence. That's the main topic. It's disheartening because I wish I had all the solutions, and I think everyone does. Like, how do we stop this? We're seeing gun violence. We're seeing our teenagers join groups, gangs, and those are constantly changing. And we're seeing fights within friend groups as well. I think there has to be a healthy balance to resolve some of those issues. And when I say those issues, like the youth violence, there has to be a sense of accountability, but also structure, also intervention. And I see Office of Neighborhood Safety and even our police department, they do a great job of doing intervention with students who have been victims of gun violence, who have done the shooting, honestly. We don't want to throw away that kid's life and send them to prison. No, we don't want to do that. We want to do that intervention and figure out how we can best support that student so they can be successful in life. So I just see a lot of violence and a lot of mistrust and misguidance with our youth. I don't think they always have the best leadership or role models in their life, but we are that. We're trying to be that. And when I say we, I'm talking about Office of Neighborhood Safety. I'm talking about St. Paul Public Schools. I'm talking about a lot of our people with Aspire unit over at St. Paul Police Department who specializes in working with our youth, our teachers, our school board members. We're trying to be role models and set our students and our youth up for success.
I agree with you 100%. I actually agree with you 110%, and I'm going to do a shameless plug on the Goals Not Guns campaign that the Neighborhood Safety Community Council has packaged and put together, where we are trying to connect with St. Paul schools on how to connect with students about violence prevention. That is one of our goals, and part of that has a goals component which talks about how do you be successful? How can you be accountable? How can you make better decisions? It's all about living in this outside world inside the schools, but once you leave the schools too. I think sometimes as adults we forget that once the kids leave their place of safety inside of the schools, they have to make it from the school home and feel safe and be safe doing it. And sometimes that's not always probable. Are you aware of what individual schools might be doing to create protocols around health and safety for their students?
I don't think it's so much individualized schools. It's that uniformity across the board. So our district, we have, every school has an EOP, which is your emergency operation procedure, or you can say plan for that school that is specific for that school. So everyone on that safety team, the administrator, the SSL, social worker, whoever's on that safety team is familiar with that EOP, and they know how to respond to an incident if an incident occurs in our school. Also, we have SRPs, which are our standard response protocols. So, for example, if we have a disorderly parent in the office and that disorderly parent is yelling, maybe they're making some semi-threats, we can put the school on a hold, and that lets the school know, hey, we're going to keep all the students in a classroom. So I'll go through those SRPs. So, for example, you have your lockdown, you have your hold in place, which I just stated, you have your secure, you have your evacuation, and then you have shelter in place for severe weather. So lockdown, that's, say there's an unidentified individual in the school, we haven't ID'd that person yet, we need to go into a lockdown. All students stay safe, be quiet, teachers lock your doors, get all the students in the classroom.
Okay.
Hold in place, as I just explained, say you have a disorderly parent or you have a large fight, hey, we need to go into a hold in place to secure this isolated area. So teachers, keep your students in classrooms. Do not let them leave to go to a restroom until you hear the all clear, until we can resolve this issue. And then also you have your secure. Your secure is if there's activity outside of the school. That could be anything from a wild animal outside of the school to police activity outside of the school. So that means no one comes in the building and no one leaves the building.
Okay.
That's your secure. And then, of course, your evacuation, your fire drill. We run through those yearly per Minnesota statute. And then your shelter in place, severe weather. So your tornado drills. You all did that in elementary school where you had to put the book over your head. Yeah. We don't do that anymore, but yeah.
What can we do as a city creating more collaborative efforts to foster the health and safety of students?
I would say continue the work that we're doing now. The relationships between all these different partners, ONS, St. Paul Police Department, our community partners, Healing Streets, to be at the table, to coordinate, to figure out what those solutions are, I would say. Again, I don't have all the answers, but being at the table and having conversations and trying to figure out what best fits our youth who are struggling, I think that's key.
What are your goals for the students of St. Paul?
The goal for our students, of course, I'm speaking from a security lens,
No, you're supposed to. Go ahead.
Safety, right? We want all of our students to be safe. But I also want our students to know that someone cares for them. And I'm going back to the youth violence. I don't believe a lot of our kids have those role models.
Yeah.
Those role models when I was a kid, someone that they could look up to.
Right.
And our SSLs, our school support liaisons, I stress this in their academy and in their training when we do professional development. Let those students know that you're someone they can go to.
Right.
You're someone they can talk to when they're struggling. Our SSLs also scan their lanes, so our SSLs are in coordination with the staff in the school as well. So our social workers. So if that student is going through, hey, let me get you connected. Let me introduce you to the social worker. Let me get you the resources that you need. Just someone for our students to know that someone cares and we have your best interests so you can be successful in life. And that's the goal. Get an education so you can be successful, but you also have to feel safe in getting that education.
That part, yeah.
And not all of our students feel safe. Honestly, the kids that are carrying the guns, most of the times, I'm not worried about an active shooter situation or something like that. It's them having beef with someone, or I need to carry this because I got to protect myself.
Right.
And then going back to social media, you see just the back and forth. And it's, again, where's the role models? Where's someone getting in that kid's ear to say, what are we doing? And when I say that, that's not always the answer. But at least we're attempting and we're trying. And I always tell my staff to do that. Try. If the student tells you to F, cool. Yeah. He's having a bad day. You don't always know what's going on in that student's life. So our schools are our safest spot for our students. And I want to make sure that stays that way. So with my personnel, and I speak for my personnel because those are people that report to me, be their avenue, be their person they can go to. So I'll leave it at that.
I think sometimes as adults, we fail to realize that kids with guns doesn't always equal criminal activity. No. Kids with guns sometimes mean they don't feel safe.
That part.
People tote guns when they feel like they don't feel safe, right? And that's one of the things that we have to remember, and we want to get to a space where our kids feel safe, and that's part of our job as adults, right?
Yeah.
Another episode for you, St. Paul. Remember working together and getting the word out on how the citizens of St. Paul can access our programming is key. Remember to always dial 911 if you have an emergency concerning your child's immediate safety. If you'd like to learn more about St. Paul Public Schools Security Emergency Management Protocols, procedure, and access their tip line, please go to spps.org. Click on Departments and scroll down to Security and Emergency Management. If you'd like to learn more about Community First Public Safety, please visit stpaul.gov, click on Resident, and scroll down to Public Safety.